And now let me show you a third trick. I saved my best for last. You're definitely going to want to stick around for a few minutes longer just to see this one. We're going to go back to our friend after the move pawn to e5. Hi-de-ho there, ChessKid. It's another edition of Do This, Not That. Well, actually, it's the first edition, but whatever. Let's just go with it. Here is what I want you to do to start the game. There are 4 acceptable moves that make fun Master My Kappa. You can play e4, that's my move. You can play d4, that's what a lot of top grandmasters do. You can play c4, that's what a lot of veteran grandmasters do. You can even play knight f3, because when the knight lands on f3, that's happy square, and it aims at 2 of the center squares. Notice all 4 of those starting moves aim at the center in some way. That is what I want you to do. I also want you to eat your vegetables and don't be mean to your brother and sister. Oh, but wait, this is not how to be a good kid channel. This is how to be a good chess kid, but you should also do and do not do those things. Okay, why do I say these things? Because far too often I see kids push a pawn on the side of the board. That is a don't, okay? Do aim at the center, don't push a pawn on the side of the board. I know there's that special kind of chess called freestyle chess, where some top grandmasters do that, but this is regular old chess. We call it position number 518, just in case you're wondering what I'm talking about. I don't even know. Here, though, is a big don't. Do not push your f-pawn to start the chess game. Now, I know some of you are out there looking at YouTube videos, looking at different things on the interwebs, and you've seen some grandmasters play the move pawn to f4, and you've even learned that this opening has a name. It's called the bird's opening, and guess what? It's for the birds. Yeah, leave it to them. Don't leave it to the human beings, because when you play f4, what you end up doing is opening up your king. That is a giant don't. In fact, it's time to take another trip down Fun Master Mike memory lane. I have played against the move f4 exactly 3 times in my life. You want to guess what my record is? I'm 3-0 as black. Yes, I love playing against this move, and I've played the exact same move all 3 times. In fact, to show you this, let's turn the board upside down. Do I have the power? Bam! There you go. It's a good thing I have the power, or else you would have to be standing on your head right now to see the black army. Now, what have I done all 3 games? I've played this move, pawn to e5, which does give away a pawn, and that's another do. Besides aiming at the center with those 4 opening moves I taught you, do learn to play some gambits. I am a big fan of gambits because although you might lose a pawn or even 2 to start the chess game, you get your pieces out really quickly, and it's so important to learn how to attack and how to make tactics. And in fact, the attacker is usually the victor when it comes to kids' chess. Okay, now we're hoping that white takes our pawn. It doesn't lose the game or anything. It just allows us to play our gambit. And just in case you're trying to get all bookie knowledge, this gambit does have a name. It's called Fromm's Gambit. I do not know who Mr. or Mrs. Fromm was, but we're just going to go with it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to offer another pawn. And when white takes us, we're going to take back with our bishop. And in fact, again, in all 3 of my games where I've played against bird's opening, I've had this exact position. And you know what? We're already threatening checkmate. Now, I don't expect white to fall into this checkmate, but just to show you how quickly the game can end when you move your f-pawn and you open up your king, let's just say that white is not having the best day and plays the move knight to c3. We are about to make white eat his metaphorical vegetables. We're going to play queen h4 check.
Hello.
There's only one way to get out of check. You've got to play the move g3. And now here, chess kids, you have a legitimate choice. There are 2 moves that are totally equal. However, one is a little bit more artistic, and I like for you to appreciate not just the technical nature of chess, but also the artistic nature. So you could give away your bishop, and that will lead to checkmate, but that actually is not all that exciting of a move. I mean, okay, checkmate's nice, right? But sacrificing a bishop, we do that kind of like, every day in chess. It's still kind of pretty. We'll go ahead and make the move on the board. But I would consider this as kind of like Mark Rothko. Yeah, you might find it in a museum, you might appreciate it, but there's an upper limit to how excited I am when I see a Mark Rothko painting. Let's go back and let's see if we can beat Pablo Picasso. What we're going to do, Picasso was kind of a crazy genius. We're going to sacrifice our queen, and it results in the same checkmate. But who doesn't get a smile on their face when they sacrifice a queen for checkmate or when they pass by a Pablo Picasso painting? That is checkmate on move number 6, all because white moved the f-pawn. Now, I know, you're thinking, Fun Master Mike, there's no way this gambit's going to work. Because if we go back to this position, my opponent is not going to let me beat Picasso. My opponent's going to play the move knight to f3, guarding the h4 square. That's true. But you know what? We can continue on this theme of going for a checkmate on this diagonal by playing the move pawn to g5. Yes, it's a real move. This is one of the rare times where pushing a pawn on the side of the board is a do, and not a don't, but we have a real reason. If we get our pawn to the square g4, and then this knight has to move, guess what? It's back on like Donkey Kong. Our queen is still going to come to the square h4 and still going to lead to a checkmate, and there's still going to be a lot of artistry. And you know what? You know who one of the most famous chess artists is? Yeah, that's right. Vishy Anand's son is making quite a name for himself as a painter. Can we put one of his paintings on the screen? Boom! Buy that now. Really nice kid, and yeah, I hope that he becomes a worldwide famous painter. That would be pretty cool. Good luck, and we'll see if that happens. Okay, but we're going to move on, and I'm going to show you another do. Let's go back. Let's turn the board back upside down so you don't have to stand in your head. Let's go back to the starting position. We go all the way back in one button, and let's go back to the do. Remember I told you do play some gambits? Well, let's see that in action. After e4, e5, let's play the move knight f3. Now, we've looked at this gambit in a bunch of other ChessKid videos, both on our website and on YouTube. This move, pawn to d4. This is called the Scotch Gambit. When black takes us, you actually can take back, but by not taking back, it's called a gambit because we are giving away a pawn, and we can play the move bishop to c4. And I don't want to do an entire another video on all the fun that white gets to have after bishop c4. You might want to go and watch my multi-level series on this exact opening. Now, you can even get more fun, and you can play c3. This is one of my favorite openings. I used to play it at least once every time I had my old live stream, Beat Fun Master Mike. And the idea is that if takes, when we play knight takes, although we gave away a pawn, our bishops come out very, very quickly. This is called the Goring Gambit. And guess what? The Goring is not boring. Oh no, it's definitely not boring. You could even not take this pawn and play bishop c4 and give away yet another pawn. This is some sort of version of something called the Danish Gambit. Not the exact same thing, but pretty close. And you know what? I even think that white scores pretty well from this position because those two bishops are super duper dangerous. Now, you've probably seen all this before because I'm betting you are a loyal ChessKid YouTube viewer. So instead of going over the Scotch Gambit and the Goring Gambit, let's learn a whole new gambit today, one that I've never shown before in the history of ChessKid YouTube. What if our opponent plays, instead of e5, which is the most common response, what if our opponent plays the Sicilian pawn to c5? That might be the most common grandmaster response. Well, you have a lot of different options here, but remember we said do learn some gambits? Well, here we go. We're going to play d4 anyway, kind of like the Scotch Gambit, but not really. After pawn takes, now we're going to play c3. This is very similar to the Goring Gambit, except now we actually call it the Smith-Mora Gambit. Mr. or Mrs. Smith, Mr. or Mrs. Mora, now is your time to shine. Now, what do we get in exchange for our lost pawn? Well, again, both of our bishops could come out very quickly. And also, because black has no central control with the pawns, there's actually a lot of tricks that black can fall into right away. We're going to look at 3 of them today just to show you how much teeth this opening has. Now, our opponent is probably wise to the idea that after knight to f6, because there are no pawns in the center, we can immediately kick that knight backward with e5, and he'd have to go back home, and he'd be pretty embarrassed. So, a good move for black is actually the move pawn to d6. Now, let's go ahead and develop our other knight, and let's give black a development move with the knight. And we're going to put our bishop on c4, just like in the Scotch Gambit, and just like in the Scotch Gambit, there are going to be tricks on f7, so do look for tricks on f7. There you go. All right, now, what if black plays a reasonable looking move? Bishop to g4. Looks like our knight's pinned, right? But remember, our knight is not in an absolute pin. It's in a relative pin, and under the right circumstances, it can actually move. So we're going to go bam! Bishop takes f7 check. You've got to always watch out for this. And when the king takes, now we can actually recover our bishop by playing knight to g5 check, which is a discovered attack on the bishop. The king better go run back to safety. But then after our queen takes, notice white's not down any material at all. I count 6 pawns for each side because I'm a pretty quick counter. Black has no pawns in the center on light squares, and black has no light squared bishop. So things like knight to e6, or even queen to e6 with the queen coming to f7, or the knight coming to f7. You can see these 2 light squares are the weakest light squares in the history of Swiss cheese chess. That's right. There are holes in black's position, just like Swiss cheese. So that's not going to work out for black at all. Let's hit the way back button, and let's see what else could black do in the Smith-Mora. Well, here comes trap number 2. Let's have black go back to d6 again. I'm going to count that as a good move. Let's play knight to f3. Let's give black this knight c6 move. Everything is the same so far. But let's say that black is wise to the idea of bishop to g4 and the bishop not being protected. Black might play the move knight to f6. The problem with this move is that you can still go for pawn to e5. Yeah, it still actually works on the chessboard, because now if the knight takes, we can play knight takes knight. And after pawn takes, don't forget to look for those tricks on f7. The king is trying to guard f7, but now the d file is open. The king is trying to guard the queen. He's got too much to do. He is, say it with me, kids, overworked. Bishop takes f7 check is the way to deflect the king away from the queen. The king must take, and then queen takes queen. And of course, we're very happy. We've won the queen on move number 10. That was pretty cool. And now let me show you a third trick. I saved my best for last. You're definitely going to want to stick around for a few minutes longer just to see this one. We're going to go back to our friend after the move pawn to e5. You're about to witness one of the coolest checkmates I can ever possibly show you on the chessboard. Let's say black does not play knight takes. We just look at that. And black plays pawn takes pawn. Well, it might look like our trick doesn't work anymore. And in fact, you better not play bishop takes f7 right away, because the knight is still there guarding the queen. So if you play bishop takes f7 now, you need to be a little bit cautionary here. When the king takes, now you're down a bishop, and this knight guards the queen, and our whole trick didn't work. So we're going to show a little bit of patience. We're going to hold our horses, as one of my chess teaching colleagues used to say. We're actually going to play queen takes queen, which looks a little bit weird to trade queens when we want to be on the attack. But here is the point of this move. First of all, if the king takes, then we go ahead and grab the pawn. The king cannot castle. These 2 pawns would be doubled and isolated for all of you chess pawn structure geniuses out there. So I believe black is probably going to play knight takes. But the funny thing about this position is there's this kind of random hole on the c7 square that black is now guarding. So we're going to play knight to b5, which looks like a totally obvious move that black has an entirely free move to stop. Remember, knight c7 would fork the king and the rook, and black has a totally free move. But it's actually not so easy. There's no queen at home to guard that. If the knight goes to e6 to guard the square, we just take the knight, and when black takes back, then we get to our ultimate goal. We play knight to c7 check, and we win the rook on the next turn. So it's getting a little bit tough here to figure out how black guards. Black could use the king, but now we get to play something very, very fun. This is why you stuck around till the end, chess kids. This is what you came to see. Knight takes e5 check. And this poor king not only has to go back, he actually walks back into a castle that falls down on himself. Notice how beautiful our knights guard all of these squares. Our bishop guards this square. The king has to go back, and now he's stuck in his own castle. Well, I guess technically he didn't castle, but you can allow the metaphor. I hope the king is surrounded by all of his own pieces. Now knight to c7 is a very, very cool double knight checkmate. You probably didn't see that coming a few moves ago. This just goes to show you how fun gambits can be. And I believe you're going to be a better player if you play some gambits, because you're going to learn about getting your pieces out really quickly and seeing all of these fun tactics. So there you go, kids. Do this, not that. That was sort of your openings edition. Do attack the center. Don't move your f-pawn. Do learn some gambits. And if you play something as pretty as this, do take a picture and put it on your refrigerator.